Well, already we're into 2024 and the 2024 World Rally Championship is just a short few days away. Monte Carlo starts 25th to the 28th of January, and as the late great Colin McRae said, every rally is a new adventure, a fresh opportunity to prove yourself, and that is the same now as it ever has been, with many drivers looking to get their hands on the trophy come the end of the season. Now 2024 looks like it's going to be a pretty open fight as reigning world champion, two-time world champion Kalle Rovanpera announces he's going to be running a part-time schedule this season. That surprised many people when it was announced, as has the new point system which was announced recently as well. And we're going to get to grips with all of that during the next half hour or so. I'm Bryn Lucas, and joining me, our rally connoisseur Tom Howard. It's an exciting time, isn't it? It's a week or so before the first rally.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just said there, 2024, the title race is wide open. Not many people expected Kalle Rovanpera to make that announcement. So now we've got obviously new driver lineups, new point system, new liveries, an entirely new title fight. There's lots to get excited about.
Well, as you say, there is a lot to talk about. It's a very exciting time in this build up to the first rally of the season. Kalle Rovanpera, the big story. He's not doing a full season. Let's find out his thoughts before we find out from Tom.
Next year is going to be a bit different for me and Jonne. We are going to see some changes, so it's going to be interesting. We are going to be driving half season with Jonne, and yeah, there is few reasons behind that, but the biggest reason, of course, is that I've been driving rally for a really long time at the moment, and I just felt that now it's a good moment to take a bit of break, to recharge the batteries and to have a bit of time off, let's say, to focus on the future more, to have more energy and more push in the next coming years. Yeah, definitely the plan is only for next year. After that we are already signed for full seasons for the next coming years. The contract is multi-year, so yeah, for sure it's only one season of this, and then we are back fighting for the championships full time.
Well, that's interesting to hear from him of his reasons why, because some people might be thinking it's a financial reason purely.
Yeah, it is interesting. I have to say, I do think he's genuine. I really do believe that this is the reason why he's taken this half season. You know, he's a 23-year-old at the end of the day. We have to remember that he's been rallying or driving cars since he was 8. So he's been doing this quite a long time, and the stress and strains of competing at this level does take its toll on the drivers. And let's remember, he hasn't really had that chance to enjoy being a 23-year-old. You know, when we were back in that, at those ages, you want to enjoy life a bit more. So I can understand why he wants to have this break. I think what we will see is we will see him do some more drifting. We'll see him do some circuit racing. There's also some talk already that he'll do the Fuji 24 hours. So I think this is just a period for Kalle to broaden his horizons a bit in the motorsport sphere, recharge his batteries, and then come back properly fighting in 2025. So
it's easier to do when you're a two-time world champion, isn't it? Because you kind of earned that year off, or more relaxed year, I suppose, as well. He's not stopping racing, he's just expanding his horizons, maybe looking for the next chapter once he's turned his back on rally, whenever that happens to be.
Absolutely, yeah. I think he is a motorsport fan. As we saw last year, he did a promotional video with David Coulthard and Mika Hakkinen, and he took them in the rally car, and then he went in the circuit racing car. So he's got a real passion for the sport, but let's not forget he has a real passion for rally. I think we will definitely see him back in rally for some period. I don't think he's going to be doing the Sebastian Loeb and sort of going for 9 world championships, but I definitely think we'll see him back full-time in 2025, and he'll be here for a few years.
Put it into some perspective for us, because he's taking this year away. Just how good is Kalle Rovanpera?
He is an incredible talent, a very, very special one, and one that only really comes along in a generation, I think. For me, the maturity is what stands out. At his age, he's able to compute things and just deal with things unlike anyone I've ever seen at that age. The way he talks to people, the way he communicates, the way he acts in the stages. For example, last season, the fact that he realised that actually being consistent was the better way. He finished no worse than 4th, and he retired once. Like, he's a machine, really. Like, it's incredible. The previous year, he went out and won 6 rallies, but last year changed his approach, knew it was going to be tougher, and thought, right, how do I win this championship? The way I win it is by being consistent. And that is extremely impressive for someone at his age. I mean, he really could go on and be the greatest of all time, in my opinion. But it's just whether he wants to do it. I think that's the question. Whether he would want to go around and do the 9 World Championships that Sebastian Loeb has done, I'm not so sure. But for me, talent-wise, incredible.
Yeah, they often say, don't they, that you can win a championship, but to win multiples, you have that thirst, that desire to continually show up. And I think what you're saying here is that Kalle's taken a year away, so he comes back with that renewed verve maybe for the World Rally Championship.
Yeah, and let's not forget, there's an interesting point here to be made, is that this sort of style of World Rally Championship, there is so much information for the drivers that they have to compute. And if one person does it, all the other drivers have to, otherwise you're at a disadvantage. So, for example, every day, every night, they are going through onboard videos, looking at corners and making notes and adjusting their notes late into the night, and then early starts the next day. It's a long, brutal experience to be a rally driver at the moment, because you have access to this information. There is an argument to say that we've gone too far. There's too much information. Maybe we should dial it back a bit and go back to how it was in the past, where you do a recce, you make your notes, you go and do the rally. You don't look again at onboards and try and adjust things. But that is partly why Kalle has made the decision, because the stresses and strains on the drivers at the moment is incredible, really.
Could be warning signs of early burnout, couldn't it, for various drivers in the future. But with Kalle going part-time, with Ogier staying part-time as well, this door has really been burst open, isn't it? It's a big double doors, and it's now massively wide open for the likes of Elfyn, for the likes of Thierry Neuville as well, Tanak coming in as well, or moving teams from M Sport to Hyundai. It's a really wide open championship. Realistically,
there's 3 drivers really that I think can challenge for the world title. It's Elfyn Evans at Toyota, and it's the Hyundai duo of Ott Tanak and Thierry Neuville. That's no disrespect to the other drivers, but they, for me, are your favourites, the contenders for this championship. And you're right, the championship door has been swung wide open now, because Kalle would have been the favourite coming in. Now we've got essentially 3 drivers that are going to go for this title, and it's very difficult to pick who's going to be coming out of this. Also, we have this point system, which we'll get onto later, which is also now going to throw another curveball into the mix, because how are they going to adjust to this point system? Will there be more tactics involved? Are the wins more important now? Is it not? You know, there's all these other variables. So, yeah, it's a very exciting season ahead, and you have to say those are your 3 that I think will be contending. Obviously, the logic would say Elfyn Evans, a 3-time runner-up in the last 4 seasons, he would be the favourite. But it doesn't necessarily mean he will be. I think, yes, he is in there in a very good shout, probably the best chance he's had. But an Ott Tanak returning to Hyundai, wanting to prove a point. Thierry, now, a 5-time runner-up, desperate to win this title. The battle is going to be on. So I'm going to put this to you. It's not a leading question, maybe it is. I'm going to put this to you, that if Elfyn, Thierry, either of those 2 win, will their championship victory, be somewhat harmed by the fact that there's no Kalle, there's no Sebastian Ogier running a full season, or will it still be seen as a great achievement? Yeah, that's a very good point, and there's definitely an argument to say that the value of championship this year could be less because Kalle's not here. But let's remember that Kalle is still here for half the season, and so is Seb Ogier. So we've got all the drivers here; they're just not necessarily doing all the rounds. Okay, so the battles for the victories are still going to be as hard as they've ever been, especially so for the rounds where Seb and Kalle are. And there is talk that there will be rounds where Seb and Kalle will actually be at the same round. So you'll have still the hardest fight for victories. So to say that the championship means less, I disagree with, because I still think the battle for victories are going to be just as hard. And also now with obviously Ott now being back at Hyundai improving their car, Toyota constantly improving their car, I think it's going to be closer than ever. As you say, it is going to be very interesting to see, and the value of their win. They've still got to beat each other, and there's some very big names in that. One driver who's certainly going to be wanting to not be the bridesmaid anymore is Elfyn Evans. Here are his thoughts.
Well, of course, 23 was a nice progression from the struggles we had in 22. That was a positive, but of course, when you're not winning, you're never really quite that happy. Still, there was 3 wins in the season, which is the most for me in a single season. So I think it shows that we're at least moving in the right direction. And of course, we want more in 24, but of course, it's not going to be easy to achieve that. We know the competition is tough. It's very competitive out there, and really anybody in the top flight cars can succeed to win and be on the podium almost on every rally. So Even though there's not as many cars as we like in the Premier class, it still doesn't mean that the speed is any less, I don't think. And yeah, it's still very difficult to reach the end of the weekend victorious.
Well, there you go. Ever the pragmatic Elfyn Evans. Now, M Sport. We haven't really touched upon M Sport just yet, but they unveiled their new livery of the Puma at Autosport International, and you took that opportunity to catch up with team principal Richard Milliner and Adrien Fourmaxu.
Adrien, here at the Autosport show, we just unveiled your M Sport Puma for this year. What do you make of the car? How it looks?
Well, it's really nice, to be fair. I really like the new livery. I'm really pleased, and now I'm really looking forward to drive this car in Monte Carlo. Now we're looking at the livery, so it's really nice. It was our main goal last year to go back in the Puma for the full season. So actually really happy that it get to the end. That now we are back in the Rally 1. So now we have to do our best to get the best of it all the season, and it will be interesting to follow also with the new score of points. So it will be interesting.
Adrien wants to be there, he had to fight to be there all last year, and he deservedly has the place. He's got a point he wants to prove, which we look forward to seeing how good he can do, but we've also got to be sensible and think about consistent results over this year.
Well, I think we have shown last year that we have been improving a lot with Alex around our management of the rally. It's in many things anyway. So yeah, I think for sure we get also more experience. So now I'm looking forward to get back in the Rally 1 and to do what we were doing in the 23, that to do it in 24 in the Rally 1 car.
I don't think we were doing our job properly if we said that we weren't aiming for a podium, but I think the first three rallies are quite specialist. Monte Carlo, Sweden, Kenya now. We don't really get into consistent conditions in some ways until we get to Croatia onwards. Of course, Monte Carlo is kind of home event for Adrien, so he's going to want to prove himself there, but we saw what happened a few years ago in the Rally 1 for Adrien, and that rally can be such a tough one and bite you when you least expect it.
Monte Carlo's moved back to Gap this year. We're expecting maybe a bit more snow and ice. How do you feel about how the rally's going to play out?
Yeah, there was a lot of snow last week. The heat is going back, but we don't know exactly how many, so it will be interesting for sure. It's now in the mountain, so it's proper Monte stages. We'll have mixed conditions. Will be really tricky, I'm sure. In the morning it will be full ice. Maybe the afternoon will be wet, and then going back to ice when the sun sets. So it will be really challenging for sure. I think it will be much more difficult than the 24, 23 and 22 edition.
Well, it was great to see the livery at Autosport International, and they've got such a young driver lineup. What can M Sport do this season?
I think, yeah, as Rich says, they've got to be realistic about what they can achieve this year. They've got a young driver lineup with Adrien and Gregor Munster. They've been promoted from their Rally 2 team, so they've promoted from within. I think for me, podiums are a definite chance that they can challenge for, and again, when we get onto this new point system, they can really hopefully take advantage of that. For Adrien, this is a big year, like a second chance at Rally 1. 2022, his first opportunity, didn't go so well. It was a very difficult season for him, a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes, but last year he really improved and developed. He's now, I think, he's really getting to that point where he's now an all-rounded driver. He won the British Rally Championship last year. He impressed in Rally 2. He's managing his rallies a lot better now, and I think that's what M Sport will want to capitalise on. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Adrien goes this year, and I really think it'd be great if we can see him getting some regular points finishes, and if he can get that first podium off his list, that'd be a really great achievement.
Yeah, I spoke to him at Autosport International, and he was certainly saying how he's become a more composed, he feels like a more composed driver.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was sort of the thing that was missing from his game, so to speak, previously. He was quite erratic at times. The speed was always there, but the consistency perhaps not, and I think he's now added that into his sort of makeup, and that's really sort of the final piece of the puzzle, I think. So now he's got that, I think we'll really see a different Adrien Fourmaxu this year.
And what about him taking the top spot position in a team, with Gregor Munster underneath him almost, having to look up to him as a mentor? How can Fourmaxu deal with that pressure, as well as having to consistently put results in.
Yeah, it's a very good argument. Obviously, he is now sort of effectively the team leader. He replaces Ott Tanak, who's gone to Hyundai. But Rich has been very clever there and said, the expectations are lower. Like, he's taken the pressure off, and I think that's exactly the right thing to do. And it's the correct situation that they're in, because the pressure is kind of off. Like, they don't have a big name driver that has to go out and challenge for a world championship. They're now in this sort of transitional period where they're building up youth and younger talent for the future. So in many ways, this is a very good opportunity for both drivers. And I don't really necessarily think there's much pressure on Adrien.
So it's almost nothing to lose. It's a win-win for both of those drivers, and even for M Sport as well, because the pressure has gone right down for them.
Absolutely. They may now unearth an absolute gem, which they have in the past with Elfyn Evans or Ott Tanak. They've given them their first opportunities in the WRC, and it's worked for them. So this is a continuation of that program, so to speak. So they believe in these two. They certainly believe in Adrien, who's been with them for a long time. There is talent there. It's just whether they can develop that into the superstar potential that is there. And maybe this year we see that.
Maybe, capital M on that, maybe.
Yeah.
M Sport, they're certainly going to be looking to capitalise on no Kalle Rovanpera or him being on a part-time schedule. But also, if we take a step back, we mentioned the point system. I can see the fear in your eyes already, Tom. The point system has changed. For those of us who don't know fully, how has it changed and what are the implications?
So yes, the FIA has introduced a new point system for the WRC this year. So basically, the first thing to make clear is the rally winner is still determined by the overall time from the start of the event to the end of the event. That has not changed. The rally winner will still be determined in the same way. What has changed is the way the points are now distributed. So there are now points on offer on Saturday, and there are now separate points allocation on offer on Sunday. So on Saturday, you can earn a maximum of 18 points. And there's a sliding scale from 18 down for the top 10 positions. You only get those points if you finish the rally on Sunday, however. So you can't just go, right, I'm doing Saturday and then stopping. So the reason they've done this is to make Sundays more exciting. Because previously, Sundays were quite dull because the rally was sort of pretty much already been decided, and drivers were saving tyres for the end of the rally power stage where there are bonus points on offer. It's important to note here the power stage rules have not changed, and there is still the bonus points 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the final stage. What has changed is Sunday. There's now a maximum of 7 points you can win for being the fastest driver over the Sunday leg of the rally. And it's a point system that goes 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's how it's worked out. Now, so basically it does mean that you have more opportunities to score points, and it does make Sunday more exciting. The implications now is that technically speaking, the rally winner might not necessarily get the most points from the event. A person that finishes second or lower could actually end up scoring more points. It's unlikely, but the opportunity is there.
Okay, thanks. So there's still 30 points potentially up for grabs for any particular driver out there. And you only get the Saturday points if you complete the Sunday. So you could be first on the Saturday, 18 points are yours. But if you then take your ball away on the Sunday and decide not to take part, crash out or whatever, you don't get anything.
Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is if, say, you're winning the rally by like a 2-minute margin on Saturday and you pick up a puncture on Sunday, you're not going to finish top of the Sunday times. Therefore, you won't get the points. And someone that, say, finished second on Saturday and has a really great Sunday could actually outscore you. So that's how the easiest way, I guess, of explaining the scenario.
Yeah.
Whether it will happen or not is another question. I've applied this point system to last year's results, and there wasn't any rally where the person who finished second outscored the rally winner, but the gaps were much closer. So, for example, in Kenya, Sebastian Ogier won the rally, Kalle Rovanpera finished second, but there's actually only a point between them using a new point system. And in Chile, the rally winner and the second place finisher would have left the event with the same amount of points. So that's how it could develop this year.
We'll have to keep our eyes on that one, won't we? We won't promise you we won't be putting a test out there for you all, but over the course of this season, we'll learn it pretty quickly. You know, we adapt pretty quickly, don't we, to these things here? So we'll see just how successful this new point scoring system is. You said to me earlier on before we started recording, though, that at the bottom of the points there's a little asterisk almost that says it could change.
Yes, so it is important to note that the FIA did actually stay when they published this point system, that they will monitor it over the year and can make changes when necessary if they need to. I think it's highly unlikely that they will, but they have sort of left them a window. And I guess the example would be when Formula One ran the elimination qualifying system, where they were eliminated one by one. It only lasted for the Australian Grand Prix, and then they rectified it for the rest. So they have left them that sort of wiggle room. If for example, they see something that they haven't thought about, or there's been a gap in the rules, so to speak, and someone's exploited it, they can fix it.
I won't ask you if you're a fan of the points change system because I don't need to. We've got the thoughts of Adrien Fourmaxu, Richard Milliner, but first up, Elfyn Evans.
Well, it's sure that the point system is quite a radical change. I can't say I'm a huge fan. I think for me it's devalued the value of an event win a little bit, in that somebody who really finishes fourth in the rally can still have the opportunity to walk away with more points than the rally winner. That somehow doesn't seem right, and there's the complication that it is complicated. It's difficult to work out who's doing what, and I think if you come away from winning a rally weekend with only 18 points, it's not going to feel like such a rewarding rally victory at the end of the day.
I think it's great. I think nobody likes change, but I think we have to change. You look at any other sport, and if you're constantly developing, people don't really remember it because they just get used to new rules coming in, new things coming in, new ways of doing things. WRC as a whole really hadn't done any changes since Power Stage points, and they were a great change, but then we kind of went stale and stagnant for 5 years. This is a big change, but I think it's brought in a lot more strategy, probably a slight advantage for us with our lineup. We could have a strong Friday, Saturday, maybe from an advantageous road position, and then we could reassess on Saturday night. Maybe we don't need to push hard on Sunday. We could probably still get a few points, but we've got good points for Friday, Saturday.
Well, I think it will make the championship tighter for sure, because it will push the guys on the Sunday to push. But if you lose something on the Saturday or Sunday, you can still score a lot of points on Sunday. Or the opposite, if you have a really bad Sunday, you still have your points from the Saturday. So at least you can score more points if you get to the end all the time. The only way I'm a bit worried is just if you win the rallies, you're maybe not scoring the maximum points, where before, even if you win the rallies and the second was doing the full points on the power, you are still winning the rally. That's the only thing, but for the rest, for the points in the championship, I think it's quite interesting.
Really interesting, isn't it? Elfyn, at the very beginning, just saying that, in his opinion, it devalues a rally win.
It's a big statement, and it's a big statement from Elfyn Evans, who rarely makes big statements. So, he is, in some respects, correct, and Ott Tanak and Thierry Neuville both said something similar. He's correct there. Obviously that scenario where you could come away with less points, it does devalue a win. But I think, as I just sort of explained earlier, I think that situation might not come up as many times as people think. But also, we have to remember that we applied the point system to last year's rallies. They didn't have that point system, so therefore people will probably drive differently this year because of the point system. So therefore we could end up with some more scenario where there's a bit more tactical play to try and get the most points out of an event. But I think it's an interesting and very valid point that he's made there. There are obviously other holes in the system that could crop up. For example, Cyril Abiteboul, the Hyundai boss, said that we need to know about road orders because that can affect how this is going to work, and also tyre allocations because, for example, if we don't have enough tyres to attack on Sunday, we're still going to be going slowly through Sunday stages. So there are sort of elements to that. Also, it could benefit guys that are the part-time drivers who have better road positions at the start of rallies, because there is now less time for the natural order, so to speak, to recoup the road position disadvantage, which Thierry Neuville has highlighted. So there definitely are some pros and cons of the system. I think it's definitely solved the problem of Sunday in terms of excitement, but now we may have this situation where there are other factors at play and other tactics that could make things all a bit more murky and interesting for us to report.
Well, the reports are going to be very exciting. Looking forward. Just quickly rewind on the Elfyn bit for a moment, because is he feeling a bit of the pressure, maybe because his team has been somewhat diluted compared to Hyundai's team?
Yeah, that's a very good point you make. And you could say diluted and you think, well, what do you mean? They've still got Kalle, they've still got Seb. But yes, Seb and Kalle are now part-time. if you compare full-time drivers now between Hyundai and Toyota, you have to say that Hyundai has a stronger lineup with Ott and Thierry. You know, Ott a 2019 world champion, Thierry a 5-time runner-up, and Elfyn a 3-time runner-up, and Taka, who has yet to win a rally. So you can look at those two and think, yeah, okay, the lineup at Hyundai is definitely stronger from a full-time driver situation. So therefore, those two are going to be maybe perhaps pushing each other harder, getting more out of themselves. Whereas Elfyn, yes, Taka's a very good driver, but he's also still developing Takamoto. So will he be pushing Elfyn as hard as Ott would Thierry? I'm not so sure. But then again, obviously you do still have Kalle and Seb that could come in at rounds where they will be pushing Elfyn as hard as possible. So it's a very interesting dynamic now at Toyota. And I can see them, and I think Jari Matti will say that the manufacturer's title is the priority now, and a driver's title is a bonus. But I still think Elfyn has got the capability to win this drivers' championship.
Looking at Hyundai and Mikkelsen being there as well, 3-time rally winner, they've got a very strong lineup. You mentioned there Tanak and Neuville going toe to toe. The eyes are firmly going to be on Hyundai this season. Do you think they have got the strongest package and they're going to be the most likely location of the ending champion in 2024?
So Hyundai have been building very, very nicely over the last year, and obviously they've brought in Cyril Abiteboul as their team principal, the former Renault Formula 1 boss. He's got a 28-point plan that he's working through to make Hyundai into the WRC team to beat, and he's making progress on that. He signed a technical director last year, François-Xavier Demaison, who was the guru behind the Volkswagen that won so many championships. So he's now there, and the driver lineup is as strong as I think you could possibly get. All of them have won rallies. There is not another team there that can boast that stat. They've all won rallies. Andreas Mikkelsen comes in, 3-time rally winner and the reigning WRC2 champion. You've got Danny Sordo for experience. You've got Esa-Pekka Lappi, who's got outright pace. Like, it's a very, very strong lineup. And to have 3 drivers sharing that third car supporting the 2 title contenders, really the only weakness that Hyundai have at the moment is their car. If the car isn't quite as good as the Toyota, it certainly wasn't last year. They've made upgrades for it this year in reliability, and they've done a weight-saving sort of program on it as well, because they were sort of overweight with the car. So if Hyundai can get their car sorted, that could give them the edge in this championship. But if Toyota, their car, the upgrades they've done, if they still have that measure, that sort of gap to Hyundai, then really it's a very exciting prospect for the fan to watch, because you've basically, it's going to boil down to who's got the best car.
Well, Tanak has won a title, as we know, 2019. Thierry Neuville has not won the title yet, but 5 times the bridesmaid. Will that change? Here are his thoughts.
The target is to chase once more the driver's title and manufacturer's title, obviously Ott back in the team. So we have a strong lineup for next year, also on the third car with some really strong drivers. So there can and is only one target of chasing both titles. We all know that the Drivers' Championship is also important, and it's the only one with Hyundai we didn't achieve yet. I think we have been 14 drivers in the team, nobody was able to achieve it yet. So the big target for the team is to achieve the driver's title, and it couldn't be any better than having me and Ott in the team this year, having proven that the car is improving all over the last year, and giving us the chance also to fight on the faster gravel rallies like last year's Estonia and Finland. So that wasn't the case before. So now, looking forward.
Hyundai are going to have a really tough season this season, I think, because they've essentially got 2 number 1 drivers. How are they going to work that through?
Yeah, it's a big problem for Cyril Abiteboul to have, but a good one for him to have, because you always want the best drivers possible. But he's now got to manage these 2. Essentially they are 2 number 1 drivers. Essentially, they're both wanting the same things, the world title, obviously. So he's now got to manage those 2, which is going to be quite an interesting process. But he said to us in December that he's already gone and spoken to them. He's told them this is the code of conduct. This is what we're going to do. So he's got to be on the front foot from the start. So that's a good start. Basically, at some point they will have to back 1 driver. And Cyril has said this. So it's going to be interesting how that's going to play out and who that will be. But at some point during the year, despite the fact that, at the start of the year, it'll be fair, they'll have all the same equal opportunities, but at some point during the year, Cyril's going to have to make the call, who is he backing for the title?
Does Cyril have a point in the season that he's going to make this decision? Are the drivers aware of this point of the season? Is it going to be round 7?
I'm sure he has a point in a milestone that has been communicated to Ott and Thierry. Obviously, that has not been communicated to everyone, so we don't know where that is. But there will be a point in his mind, and also in Thierry and Ott's mind, which has now been communicated to him, where there will be an evaluation of the season, where they're at, and there'll be a decision made as to who they're backing.
Because it might be this odd situation that the driver actually is in second place, has performed really well, and the 2-3 rallies leading up had a terrible start maybe, and the rallies that are coming up more suit that driver, so it might be the second place driver gets preferential treatment. It's going to be such an interesting fight. Well,
also you've got this point system to factor in as well, so that it could be even closer than ever. There could be a handful of points between them, come mid-season, and who do you back then? That's a very difficult call for any team principal to make. So yeah, I honestly don't envy Cyril's position there, because that's going to be a real difficult task to manage. Now Thierry and Ott have both said that there's no, they're happy to work with each other, and they have worked with each other before, and I'm sure they will do so again. Even Cyril has said that points in each season there's going to be conflict. There's going to be some moments where it's going to get tense, and that is where the excitement is for us and the audience, is that this sort of inter-team rivalry could be absolutely sensational for the fan.
What's their relationship like, Ott and Thierry?
Oh, I mean, they're very two different characters, but I think they both say they get on with each other, and you can see that they have done. But I'm sure there will be periods where they're very desperate to beat each other. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic this year.
Like most drivers, you love your teammate if you're better than them.
But yeah, but again, this is ultimately a Hyundai benefits, because these two are going to be pushing each other so hard that they're going to get the best out of each other, and therefore raise the entire team up. So it's really a win-win scenario in some respects.
Let's move away from this to something slightly different, because in 2024 you don't have to run a hybrid kit. What's the thinking behind this?
So this is another raft. Well, there's been a raft of changes for this year. The biggest one being the point system. I think the second most interesting one is this rule now that Rally 1 cars without a hybrid kit can compete. They can't score manufacturer points, but they can compete. And the reason behind this is to make the Rally 1 category more accessible. At the moment, it's very expensive. We only have 8 cars, and that's proof of the costs. And the gulf between Rally 2 and Rally 1 is so large at the moment that if you throw a young driver in, it's quite difficult for them to adjust. So having this sort of interim Rally 1 where you've got a hybrid kit, where you don't have a hybrid kit, you still have to carry the weight of a hybrid kit, so the car is still the same weight, but obviously it's going to have less power. But it will allow young drivers to adjust the cars better, and it might bring in a few more privateers, because it's a bit more cheaper for the driver to come and run. So I think it's a really interesting rule, and I can see people like M Sport taking advantage of it. I think they could run some cars using that to develop some new blood, or some privateers that want to just come and have a play. I think it's a good idea.
It's a mouth-watering moment in time. We're so close to the first rally of the season. That's always exciting. What are you most looking forward to, though?
Yeah, obviously the title fight is going to be sensational. How that's going to play out, you really don't know. But I think for me, the storyline between Ott and Thierry, that is perhaps going to edge it slightly. Just how Hyundai are going to manage that, who's going to be leading the team there. That for me is where I think I'm probably most interested.
So, I don't mean to put you on the spot. But what I want to do is I want to ask you who is going to be the 2024 champion, and then what we can do at the season review is we can replay this little clip and see just how on the money you are.
Yeah, that's very cruel. The heart says, and in many ways the brain says, Elfyn, if you look at last year, the car won 9 of 13 rallies. It's a very, very good car. He won 3 rallies, the same as Kalle, the same as Seb. So if you're judging it on last year's form, you'd say Elfyn's going to win this year's title. But it's all going to be down to what Hyundai do with their car. So I'm going to go Elfyn. But as I've said, I think if Hyundai's car's on the money, the battle is going to be on.
Elfyn, but with a big but at the end there, huge caveat. Look, Tom, thank you very much indeed for giving us all your thoughts on this one. The season is just a short hop away now. Monte Carlo coming up very, very soon. Some questions have been answered. More questions will, of course, present themselves over the coming season, but it's going to be very, very exciting nonetheless. Tom, like I say, thank you very much indeed for casting your eye and your thoughts over it. Don't forget, put your comments in. We'd love to hear what you think about the new points scoring system, who you think is going to be the champion as well. And if you haven't done so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button and keep across all the motorsport in 2024. I'm Bryn Lucas. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.